Most people picture a bug-out vehicle as a freedom button. Turn the key, drive into the sunset, survive the chaos. Real life is uglier. When roads are jammed, fuel is scarce, and everyone's stressed, the wrong vehicle doesn't just slow you down, it can strand you, attract the wrong attention, or fail at the worst possible moment. This isn't about action movie fantasies or flexing expensive gear. It's about simple, boring reliability and not getting trapped by your own setup. So let's go through 10 popular bug-out vehicle choices that sound smart on paper, but realistically would get most people in serious trouble fast. Number 1. Military surplus truck. That giant Mad Max military truck looks like the ultimate bug-out machine, right up until you try to use it in real life. The first problem is, it's basically a moving billboard. It's loud, tall, slow, and impossible to make low profile. In a real emergency, wildfire evacuation, big storm, widespread blackout, whatever, standing out is not a flex. Standing out is a problem. The second problem is weight. Heavy rigs sink into soft ground, chew through mud, and crack weak shoulders on damaged roads. They also struggle with narrow streets, tight turns, low bridges, and all the random obstacles you only notice when you're stressed and traffic is jammed. Then there's the fuel reality. A lot of these trucks don't sip fuel, they inhale it. People imagine cruising through chaos like a movie, but your range depends on what's in your tank, not what's in your imagination. If fuel stations are out or lines are insane, a thirsty truck turns into a very expensive parking spot. Parts are another headache. Even if the engine is tough, you can't magic replacement parts out of thin air, and you definitely don't want your whole plan to depend on finding some specific hose, belt, or electrical part that only one niche supplier carries. For beginners, the simple rule is common vehicle, common parts, common tires. Fidelity, the best bug-out vehicle is the one you can actually keep running with normal tools and normal maintenance, not the one that looks cool in your driveway. And speaking of vehicles that look impressive but fall apart when reality gets messy, let's talk about the shiny status symbol option. Number 2, luxury SUV. A luxury SUV feels like safety. Big body, fancy features, nice seats, and that confident, I can go anywhere vibe. But a lot of luxury SUVs are basically computers wearing hiking boots. They're packed with sensors, cameras, electronic shifters, and complicated systems that are amazing when everything is normal and annoying when anything goes wrong. If a sensor freaks out, some models will limit power, throw warning lights everywhere, and turn a simple issue into a dealer-only issue. That's not drama, that's just how modern systems are designed. Safe, controlled, and dependent on specialized diagnostics. Also, luxury trims often come with low-profile tires and big wheels. They look great, until you hit debris, broken pavement, potholes, or a curb you didn't see because you're trying to merge while 3 people are honking. Low-profile tires pop easier, cost more, and usually aren't the kind of tire you want in a situation where roads are ugly. Add in air suspension on some models. Awesome when it works, miserable when it doesn't, and you've got a vehicle that can become fragile at the worst time. And there's the social reality. A shiny luxury SUV can attract attention from people who assume you have money, supplies, or both. In normal life, that's just annoying. In a chaotic moment, that attention can turn into pressure you don't want. For beginners, bug out doesn't mean show off. It means blend in, stay moving, stay safe. If you want something SUV-shaped, boring is good. Boring means common tires, common parts, and fewer complicated systems between you and actually driving. Now, if luxury SUVs are computers and hiking boots, the next category is basically a laptop on wheels that forgets how to exist when the power goes out. Number 3, full electric vehicle. EVs are awesome in normal life. Quiet, quick, smooth, cheap to run, and honestly fun. The problem is not that EVs are bad. The problem is that a full EV as your main evacuation plan is extremely dependent on a working system outside your control. If the grid is down, chargers may be down. If cell networks are overloaded, some chargers get weird. If a charging station is working but packed, you're waiting. If it's freezing cold or blazing hot, range drops. If you're crawling in traffic with the heater or AC running, range drops again. And when an EV is out of charge, it doesn't become a little inconvenient. It becomes a very heavy object you can't refuel with a jerry can. People love to say, "I'll just use solar." Solar can help, sure, but most beginner setups are not magically fast charging a car battery in a crisis. That's more of a long-term plan, not a get-out-today plan. None of this means EV owners are doomed. It just means you need layers. If you have an EV, keep it charged as a habit. Know your real-world range in bad weather, and have a backup plan that doesn't depend on a perfect charging situation. Even better, think in terms of shelter in place first. Evacuate only when you truly need to. Because a panicked last-second evacuation is where EV limitations show up hard. And if you're thinking, okay fine, I'll just go super small and fuel efficient, that brings us to the tiny car trap. Number 4. Tiny hatchback. Small hatchbacks are great daily drivers. Cheap to run, easy to park, and surprisingly useful for normal errands. But as a true bug-out vehicle, they can get you in trouble fast, mostly because of physics. You don't have much ground clearance. You don't have much load capacity. You don't have much suspension strength. One chunk of debris, one torn-up road, one washed-out shoulder, and suddenly you're high-centered or stuck. And when you're stuck, you're not just late. You're stationary in a moment when being stationary can turn risky. Heat, cold, dehydration, stress, and the simple fact that you might be blocking a lane and creating conflict. The other issue is cargo math. Beginners tend to pack like they're moving apartments. Water alone is heavy. Basic supplies add up quickly. A first aid kit, meds, a few days of food, warm layers, hygiene items, phone chargers, spare flashlight batteries, important documents, and maybe supplies for family members. In a tiny hatchback, you run out of space fast, and then people start stacking things in ways that block visibility, or become dangerous projectiles if you brake hard. If a small car is what you have, you can still be prepared. Just think smaller and smarter. Keep a realistic kit: water, meds, warm layer, basic tools, a tire repair option, and the stuff that actually matters. Don't plan on off-roading. Don't plan on carrying your entire life. Your best move is usually to leave early if you must leave, stick to maintained roads, and avoid hero routes. Which connects to the next problem vehicle, because nothing says hero route like a rig that's almost ready. Number 5. Project car. If your escape plan depends on a vehicle you describe with the phrase, "It just needs one more thing," you're gambling with your safety. Project cars are awesome hobbies. They are terrible emergency tools. The issue isn't just reliability, it's predictability. A project might run great until it doesn't. Mods can introduce weird failures: electrical gremlins, overheating, fuel delivery issues, suspension problems, or that one bolt that should be fine until you hit a pothole. And the cruel part is that project cars often fail in ways that aren't quick fixes on the roadside. Beginners also underestimate how stress changes everything. In your driveway, you troubleshoot calmly. In an evacuation, with traffic, noise, and adrenaline, you make mistakes. You forget tools. You drop parts. You misdiagnose simple issues. And if your vehicle is already a little temperamental on a normal day, a high-stress day is when it picks a fight. There's also the attention factor again. A loud exhaust, a flashy wrap, off-road lights everywhere. Cool look, but it draws eyes. You don't want extra eyes. For beginners, the most underrated prepping move is boring maintenance. Fresh tires, good brakes, reliable battery, fluids changed, and a full-size spare if you can. Then actually drive the vehicle with the load you plan to carry. Test it. If the first test run happens during the emergency, you're learning at the worst possible time. And if you think, okay, no project cars, give me something fast and powerful. Congrats, you just walked into the sports car trap. Number 6, low sports car. Sports cars feel like the ultimate escape fantasy. Fast acceleration, tight handling, and the idea that you'll just zip around everyone. Reality is meaner than that. First, sports cars are low. Broken pavement, road debris, sudden dips, loose gravel. These things are everywhere when conditions are bad. A low front bumper and a low oil pan don't care about your confidence. Second, sports cars tend to be picky. Premium fuel, specialized tires, performance parts that aren't exactly sitting on a shelf in every small town shop. Third, space is usually terrible. Even if you have a trunk, you're not fitting much, and you're definitely not comfortably carrying a family with supplies. Fourth, sports cars attract attention. They look expensive, which makes people assume you have resources, even if you don't. Also, a lot of fast escape thinking ignores the boring truth. During a real evacuation, roads are clogged. You can't outdrive a traffic jam. You can only avoid it by leaving early, choosing smart routes, and not waiting until the last minute. If you want a vehicle that survives messy roads, you want practical clearance, practical tires, and a setup that doesn't fall apart when it's forced to crawl. And since we're talking about big, mobile survival fantasies, we have to address the rolling apartment that seems like the perfect idea until it becomes a giant problem. Number 7, big RV. The RV dream is simple. I'll bring my house with me. Water tank, bed, kitchen, maybe even a shower. Sounds perfect. But big RVs have a long list of real-world issues and emergencies. They're wide, long, heavy, and not built for broken roads. In heavy traffic, they're harder to maneuver. When roads get blocked, turning around is a whole event. If you need to take a narrow detour, good luck. Many RVs also have low clearance and poor traction, especially if they're two-wheel drive and loaded. Add wind, rain, or snow, and they get sketchy fast. Fuel consumption is another big one. The bigger the rig, the more you depend on fuel access. And RV maintenance is its own universe. Tires that are expensive and can fail from age even if they look fine. Systems that break, leaks, and mechanical issues that are not quick fixes on the shoulder of a highway. Also, RVs scream supplies. Even if you're not stocked, people assume you are. That can create uncomfortable interactions. A smarter beginner approach is to separate movement from living. A reliable vehicle plus a modest, well-planned kit is often safer than trying to drag your entire lifestyle through chaos. If you own an RV and love it, it can still be part of preparedness. Just don't make it your only answer, and don't assume it'll glide through a packed evacuation route like a movie scene. And if you're thinking, fine, forget RVs. What about a big box truck so I can haul everything? That's another popular mistake. Number 8, box truck or moving van. A box truck feels logical. Lots of space, easy loading, you can carry all the gear, maybe even supplies for friends or family. The problem is, these trucks are usually terrible in the exact conditions that make people want to bug out. They're often underpowered for their weight, especially when loaded. They have poor visibility compared to a normal vehicle. They're usually two-wheel drive, with tires not meant for off-road traction. They get stuck easily on soft shoulders or muddy areas, and once stuck, you're not pushing it out with 2 friends and good vibes. Rentals add another layer. You don't know the maintenance history, and you don't want to discover brake issues or overheating in the middle of an evacuation. Box trucks also have a high center of gravity, which becomes a safety risk if you're forced into sudden lane changes or if roads are uneven. And again, it advertises stuff. A big blank box on wheels says, "I'm carrying valuable things." Even if it's just blankets and bottled water, you're broadcasting "loot me." Beginners get trapped by the idea of taking everything. But preparedness isn't about hauling your house. It's about staying stable, safe, and flexible. The better mindset is, take the essentials, keep the vehicle balanced, and keep your ability to move. That leads into another common fantasy option that people love because it feels nimble and unblockable, but can go wrong in ways beginners don't think about. Number 9. Motorcycle as the main plan. Motorcycles are tempting because they slip through traffic, they use less fuel, and they can go around obstacles that stop cars. The problem is that motorcycles demand skill, and they punish mistakes. In a stressful emergency, with debris on the road, distracted drivers, and unpredictable conditions, the risk of a crash goes way up, and if you're injured, your mobility plan is instantly over. Weather is another issue. Heat, cold, rain. On a bike, you feel all of it. Exposure can become a real problem, especially if you're stuck moving slowly for hours. Cargo is limited too. Yes, you can add panniers and a top case, but it's still not a family vehicle. And it's not a carry weeks of supplies vehicle unless you're extremely disciplined and experienced. Also, bikes are easier to steal, and you can't really lock down a motorcycle the way you can secure a car. None of this means motorcycles are useless. They can be great as a secondary tool, a scout vehicle, a commuting backup, or an option for someone trained, geared up, and realistic about limits. For beginners, the safer approach is, don't make a motorcycle your only lifeline unless you truly ride regularly, have the right safety gear, and have a plan that avoids pushing your luck. And now for a vehicle type that sounds tough and bulletproof because it's a diesel, but can quietly fail because of modern complexity in a very annoying way. Number 10. Modern diesel with emission systems. A lot of people hear diesel and think unstoppable. And the engine itself can be very durable, especially in work-focused trucks. The catch is that many modern diesels are wrapped in emissions equipment and electronics that can cause big problems when conditions are rough or maintenance gets delayed. Things like diesel particulate filters, sensors, and fluid systems are designed to reduce emissions and keep the engine running within strict parameters. In normal life, that's fine. In a chaotic situation, stop-and-go traffic for hours, low-speed crawling, limited access to supplies, and no easy way to address warning lights, it can turn into limp mode at exactly the wrong time. Even if nothing breaks, you're still dealing with a complex system that expects a stable world, proper fluid availability, proper service intervals, proper diagnostics. And it's worth saying clearly, tampering with emission systems is illegal in many places and can create safety and reliability issues, so it's not something to mess with. The practical beginner move here is simple. Don't assume diesel automatically equals survival proof. If you already own a modern diesel, keep up with maintenance, don't ignore small issues, and keep it in a condition where it's ready on an ordinary day, because emergencies are not when you want to learn what a warning light means. If you're choosing a vehicle for preparedness, prioritize reliability, common parts, common tires, and a setup that stays functional even when everything is inconvenient. A vehicle that only behaves when the dashboard is happy is not the kind of relationship you want when the roads are full and the stakes feel real.